Hello students. How are you today? Welcome to your English class. For this class, you will need your notebook to take notes. Also, we are going to use this time your student's book because you are going to work with some exercises, page 117. Don't forget to write a comment or in the chat to take attendance. And also, as usual, you have to send pictures as evidences, in this case, of your notes and of page 117. To start the class, we have a mini activity where you have to order the letters to write proper words. Okay, in this case, we have 8 words that are not ordered. So you need to sort the letters to write proper words. Here we have a bar, so when the bar is complete, you have to stop. You will have a pair of minutes to work on it.
See the light inside you, brighter than the skies. Hold on, just let us escape and fly away tonight. We have the world in our sight, and I know together we'll be alright. And you see, forever we will go.
And stop. Now, check if you have written the words properly. I will give you the correct answers the next class. The main topic we are going to review and check today is relative clauses. Relative clauses are used to give more information or relevant or extra information about the person or thing we mentioned. Relative clauses are used in complex sentences. This means that when we are using or writing more than two simple sentences, or when we have two or three ideas together. We have two kinds of relative clauses. One is defining, and on the other hand, we have no defining, right? The defining are the ones we have here, who or that refers to people, which that for things, where for places, when we are talking about time, and whose for possession. The non-defining ones are who, which, when, where, and whose. First of all, I will explain you the use of defining relative clauses. These ones are used to describe what exactly, which person, thing, place, or time you mean. The ones we use are who or that for people. The example is the man who first walked in the moon was Neil Armstrong. We are using who because we refer to a person. In this case is a man. Also, we can use that instead of who in this case. The second is which or that is used for things. As we can see in this example, the book which I am reading is very good. My main subject is a thing. I make the reference with the relative clause that is which. Okay. Then we have where that refers to places. The example, the place where the king's skeleton was found is now a car park. Okay, we use where. Then we have when. This is when we talk about or when we refer to time. The time when Richard III was king was one of violence and rebellion. We are using when that refers to a specific episode or time in history. Whose is for possession. The example says the king whose skeleton was found under a car park was Richard III. Here we know that the skeleton found belonged to the king. So in this case we have possession, that's why we use whose. Specific points about defining relative clauses are that, as you can see in the examples, we don't have commas, so we don't use commas when we have the relative clause. We can use that, as I mentioned before, in the first two cases with people and thing. We can say who or that, or which that. Here, relative pronouns can be omitted. Okay? For example, if I say the second example here, the book which I am reading is very good. If I say the book I am reading is very good, we understand the meaning of the sentence. Okay? So it doesn't affect to the meaning. We can omit sometimes, in these cases, defining relative clauses. Here we have no defining relative clauses. These ones are used to give extra information about the subject or object of the main clause or for emphasis. If we want to emphasize something, we use non-defining relative clauses. That is the difference between non-defining and defining relative clauses. In this case, we use it to give information, extra information about the main clause or to emphasize. Okay, the ones we use are who, which, where, and when. Okay, it's the same use. We have who for people, which for things, where for places, and when for time. We have an example for with who. King Richard comma, who was killed in battle, comma, was buried in a church. So as you can see now, here we are using commas, and we have the non-defining relative clause, which he passed his driving test, which surprised everyone. We refer to an object, that's why we use which. Where Jalapa, where I was born, is called the city of flowers. In this case, you can notice that we are emphasizing or making emphasis about a place. That's why we use where. Finally, we have went. Next month, when we get back to school, we will have a test. Okay, so we have expression of time next month, and we make the reference with when, that is for time. The specifications or the difference between non-defining and defining are these ones. In non-defining relative clauses, we use commas, okay? We write it between commas. As you can see in the examples, we have the non-defining relative clause between commas. Also, in these cases, we cannot use that or what, as in the defining ones. And also here we cannot omit the relative clauses, okay? For example, in the examples we have here, in the same examples, if we omit the relative clauses, the sentence could sound a bit tricky or weird. And also remember that we are using not defining relative clauses because we use it to emphasize or because we are referring to the main clause. That's why we cannot omit here the non-defining relative clauses. And the specification for this topic is that we can reduce also relative clauses in sentences. We can use a present or past participle after a noun to make a clause shorter. As we can see here, we have in the first sentence, in the play, which was written in 1592, the king is portrayed as a tyrant. In the second one, in the play written in 1592, the king, shalala shalala. So we notice that here we are reducing the relative clause, which, and we only have the past participle. In this case, we can use it because it doesn't affect the meaning of the sentences. Okay, so this is an option. Sometimes we can reduce or we cannot use relative clauses. Time to practice. Now, using the explanation showed here in this video, you are going to work on your student's book, page 117, with exercises 1, 2, 3, and 4. Recuerda que puedes revisar el video, pausarlo las veces que necesites para poder trabajar en estos ejercicios. And now that you finished the work on your book, this is how we conclude the class. Thank you very much, students. Don't forget to send your pictures. In this case, I need the pictures of your notes and page 117, okay? Please send them to my email. And if you have questions, let me know to help you as soon as possible. And that's it. Thank you very much, students. See you soon.